Unacademy. Let's crack it.
Okay. How the industrialization has affected the tribals or the tribal way of life?
Sir, land alienation would be the foremost problem due to industrialization. Another would be indebtedness that emanates from land alienation as well. Cultural impoverishment and the adoption of Western ideals would be another problem.
But adoption of Western ideals, is it a problem per se in itself?
Sir, it has been, there are both pros and cons associated with the adoption of Western ideas. The pros would be more inclination towards education, more progressive ideas coming in, but the cons are also numerous, wherein we are losing our cultural identities, and the homogenization of culture is also another
So how to
problem.
reconcile these seemingly irreconcilable things? On one hand, you have the requirement of fruits of development
Yes, sir.
reaching all citizens of the country, and on the other hand, quest or the requirement or shall we say an effort to preserve their way of life. How to reconcile the two?
Sir, one approach has been suggested by the former Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. It is known as the integrationist approach, wherein we try to bring the roots of the fruits of development to the downtrodden through by
No,
training
my question
them.
was in the context of tribals only.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So no downtrodden. Use the word tribal.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, fruits of development to the tribals by way of training some tribals and then letting them on their own to circulate that training and education within themselves.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You read Shakespeare as part of English?
Yes, sir.
A lot of people believe that it's impossible for one man to write so much and such top quality stuff.
Yes, sir.
How do you explain this? Why do people believe that way?
Sir, I would say it's the change in the tradition. When Shakespeare was writing, it was in the Renaissance era. So there were a lot of topics coming up for him to write about. There was geography was one thing. A part of the world was being discovered. Long voyages were being taken. Art in
Oh, that's
art.
fine. So you think it was one man who wrote, or it was a group of scholars who wrote under the name of Shakespeare and one man? It's like the history remembers the king, not the soldiers who die. So they remember Dr. Ambedkar, not 10 other people who were part of the committee who wrote the constitution.
Yes.
Do you believe in this theory?
Sir,
That Shakespeare was not one man?
Sir, I would say as far as writing goes, it's never a single person writing. It's a derivation of ideas from multiple sources, and that's what would have happened in the times of Shakespeare as well. Also, as far as I know, writing, there would be multiple drafts. I am speculating. I'm not sure, sir. We cannot be. So I think it would be a task of multiple men also, that these dramas were being performed in the Globe Theatre in the 16th century. So anyhow, an entire team was involved.
Okay.
So
Now, who's written that poem, Into the Valley of Death, Rode the 600?
I'm sorry, sir, I cannot.
Lord Tennyson. During the Crimean War, based on Crimean War. Now there are 4 lines. And what I'll read those lines, and you got to tell me whether do they apply to a civil servant or not.
Okay.
All right? Theirs is not to make a reply. Theirs is not to reason why. There is but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. What does it apply to civil servants? There's not to reply. There's not to reason why.
Sir, I would say that the Max Weber's vision of civil services was definitely based on this, wherein civil services neutrality and anonymity were the dominant factors. However, with time it has changed. With times, we require more welfare-oriented civil servants who also have a voice. So,
the question that I'm trying to hint at is, there is not to question why. Will you never question what you're told to do?
No, sir.
You'll
Sir,
do what you've been told?
no, sir. I will question. I will question at certain times, and I will
When it
not be a
violates,
blind
when you're being
follower.
told to do something, when will you question that? When it violates what?
So when it violates the constitution or the law.
Okay, so this does not apply anywhere in life, right? Only sometimes the soldiers.